Okay, with this month's topic being grief and death and October and autumn and all those wonderful things. And I really got to enjoy the autumn today. I like rain a lot. And I saw Julia's post and she likes it too. And I always feel like that first rain that comes after a long time, I feel like I'm cleaned up on the inside. It's kind of crazy. It's like, feel cleared out. It's like standing over rushing water, when you're on a bridge. And it's very nice. So I've enjoyed that a lot. Um, so a long time ago, the Buddha is giving one of those talks that he tends to do. And a woman who had a son that she had loved a lot just really doted on him. He died, right? So the woman carries her son, his little body, to the Buddha and goes, "Can you bring my son back to life?" And the Buddha goes, "In order to do this, you need to find a handful of," I want to say sesame seeds. I think it's the wrong seeds. But sesame seeds from a household where no one has experienced death. And she goes, "Oh, okay." So she looks and she wanders and wanders and looks and cannot find a house that has not experienced death. And she comes back and she realizes that there's nothing the Buddha can do. The boy is gone, and it's that way for everybody. And doing that vain pursuit brought her to that. And when I read that vain pursuit, I go, well, that's really silly. Who would want to go going door to door, knocking to see if there's sunflower seeds in a family that's not experienced death? But whenever there's been a grief, either the loss of a relationship or a job, or for me, the worst, the loss of a person or an animal, something I love, covered up, something I love, I'll go through my head all these scenarios. And I keep on thinking, if I did some weird thing differently, maybe that condition or that person would still be here, or that animal would still be here. And I suddenly realize I'm looking for a way to bring it back. So I'm going door to door looking for seeds. I'm going door to door. Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? And sooner or later, I realize it's not there. So lately, in my last bout of grieving, which was with a dying pet, whenever I went to those places, like, oh, if I paid attention to this or I did that, right? That those guilt feelings, but almost a guilt that, this animal had gone on and I'm still here, right? I started saying to myself, she's gone. She's not coming back. I'll never see her in her earthly form in this realm of existence again. And I was wondering why I was saying that to myself. It was like coming from some very wise part of myself. And then I realized that's what I was doing. I was looking for some weird loophole that maybe, that bargaining where maybe I could just bring this thing back I loved. And there's nothing. Every scenario I went, all the way down to maybe we could have drugged her up and gave her a couple more quality weeks. What does that change? Still gone, it's still the same end result. So I just spent a long time thinking about that, and we have the remembrances, and I'll just focus on that, the remembrance that, not all of them, but that everything changes. So any condition I may want to hold on to, that I may want to cling on to, and man, drugs are a big part of that. When I was drinking a lot, I wanted that feeling of peace and kind of euphoria just to be there all the time, right? And I thought I could use alcohol to make that so it was with me all the time. But it's not a condition that's meant to last. All conditions, all things change. So that clinging to wanting to just be in that space was an immaturity on my part. It was not realizing that all things change, that how we will get to feel the whole realm of human experience. And grief is part of that. And again, I stick with grief is beautiful. I recognize this last time the beauty of my grief, even in the pain and the suddenness of it, and how it would not go back. It felt beautiful. And now that there's been some time, and time with all sorts of things, I've lost, that's a long time, but in the last 13 years, I've lost a brother, a mother, a father, 3 pets, and 3 of my 4 best friends in my life have all passed in that time. And I wasn't close to all my friends, but I was still in contact with them. And it's just something that happened, and nothing I can do will bring them back. And it feels weird to be the one still here, in that whole group. I was thinking about meditation earlier and listening to another teacher. And it was earlier this weekend, this morning also. And thinking how in meditation there's concentration practices that help me concentrate, that help me get to that place of right concentration. And there's mindfulness practices, and then there's insight practices. And for me, this sitting with grief, I've been writing poetry about autumn and grief, and thinking about it has been very much an insight practice. And it makes me feel compassion for everyone around me, because like the woman who goes to all these households looking for someone who's not suffered, we've all suffered from loss of condition, loss of relationships, death. And that's the space I want to be in. I want to just do a chant for about 5 minutes, and then probably do 5 minutes of silence after that. And the chant I'm going to do, I'll confess, has not been one of my favorites, but it's the one that kept going through my head, right? It just kept going through my head, and I'm like, why is this going through my head? This is not one of my favorites, and it doesn't have to be. It is some people's favorites. And it's with Kuan Yin, which is a feminine aspect of the Buddha. And I decided I wanted to just look up what that chant meant exactly, because I was chanting without knowing the whole thing. So it's Kuan Yin Pucha, and what it means is homage to Kuan Yin. And I'm like, okay, that's like Namo, in the name of. That's cool. I've done that before. But then I'm looking up, and reading about Kuan Yin, and she has 2 big names. And the first one it said, and I thought, wow, maybe that's why it didn't leave my head, is the first name given to Buddhists who use Kuan Yin is she who hears the cries of the world. She who hears the cries of the world. So I think if we're talking grief, we're talking loss. That's like a big person, a big chant we can do. And even if you don't think there's literally a Kuan Yin, it's the idea of putting it out there that something or some higher part of ourselves or something in the universe hears that cry from us. The symbolism, I think, is important. And I also believe in the repetition of the chant. Other people have done it, and I think it builds kind of that intention over time. That's what I feel. So I'll get started. It's a very simple chant. Those who want to chant with me online and here, please feel free. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Some people don't feel comfortable chanting, and that's cool. You can tune us out and just follow your breath, or you can just listen, and you can even chant in your head and not use your voice. I've done that before, too. I've done both. And then we'll follow it up with some silent meditation. And it goes, Kuan Yin Pucha, 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 Kuan Yin Pucha. Just follow your breath and take a few minutes to enjoy just the present moment. Namaste. Just before we jump in, that was really nice for me. I learned it about 20 years ago when I used to practice with this group and would practice Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock, and it was like 10 older women and me on an average Sunday. And it was a really great group, and I really learned a lot. It was a lot of fun. And a lot of my practice came from that. Okay. Comfortable? We'll have our dedication word. I was so glad to be able to hear and learn from you all tonight. Thank you so much. May we be happy and peaceful. May we be healthy and strong. May we be safe and protected. May we live with ease. Namaste.